Coming in at number 5, we have a bit of an internet urban myth that's been doing the rounds since about 2015. Now, some doubt the authenticity of this secret room, but regardless, it's also insanely creepy. A father of 2 posted a seamlessly innocent anecdote involving his son Tim, age 7, and daughter Sophia, age 6. He'd asked the pair to do some writing exercises to improve their spelling, and then asked them to draw the family and make a cute little map of their home, as well as the favourite room in the house. Now, take a look at this drawing from his daughter Sophia. And so, there's Mom, Dad, Sophia, Tim, and also 2 creepy other faces that she hasn't drawn the faces of. Why, Sophia? Who are they? If things weren't weird enough, the dad also noticed that Sophia had drawn a little room on the map that didn't even exist. Now, kids have got a crazy imagination, you know, and he claimed that his daughter was awfully smart for a 6-year-old, so deciding to give her the benefit of the doubt, he asked her about the room. And yep, the room actually exists. Sophia took her dad to the bathroom where she moved the panel off the wall that looked like a crawl space for pipes. Now, it was way too small for anyone to fit through, so assuming Sophia was just playing around with him, he told her to knock it off, you know, this isn't a joke, but Sophia was adamant that the room was real. So, giving her a camera phone to take a picture to prove it, she crawled right through the space into some strange secret room, and she came out with this. Well, like any dad would, he told her to never go in there again, and I hope they moved house. Coming in at number 4, we have a terrifying tale from Shropshire, England. The Farla family had lived in their old Victorian home for 3 years and were always curious about a metre-long metal grate that just lay in the floor. Thinking it was just an old air duct, they'd covered it with mats and rugs and they'd forgotten about it over the years. But one night, after a few drinks and a bit of a party, the family mustered up the courage to see where it led. After pulling it away, the family found a hole just big enough for a few of them to squeeze through. Now, things get a little bit weird here. What they found below, well, no one expected. Blinking in the darkness, what they first thought was a stone cellar turned out to be a strange chapel. There was a rotten wooden cross on the ground and hooks hanging from the ceiling. The family had no idea that this weird mausoleum was right underneath their feet the whole time, and it even turned out that a small staircase from the chapel led directly behind a bookcase in the dining room. The family have since reported a strange presence since unearthing the chapel and have taken a series of photographs that appear to show orbs and a spectre floating around. Keep it hidden, guys. And next up at number 3, we have the tale of a brave HVAC worker who delved just a little too deep. In 2017, a video surfaced online of a guy who had been sent out by his company to clean an air conditioning unit. It was kept in a garage, and this meant crawling into the attic space to investigate the existing system. Now, that's where things got a little bit weird. As he walked up the attic ladder, he first noticed that there was a strange red carpet on the floor. A little bit weird considering it's, you know, an attic, but that's just the start. Further on, at the end of the actual attic space, was another door with a men's room sign nailed above, because, you know, that's normal. What he found inside was a wood-panelled room with blood-red floors. There were several strange etchings on the walls, and also a few license plates were hanging from the ceiling. If that's not weird enough, it turns out those license plates, yeah, they belong to D.D. Moore, aka the Lottery Killer. D.D. was convicted of murdering Abraham Shakespeare, a Florida resident who incredibly won the lottery in 2012. Wow. As for the HVAC worker, yeah, he was fine. They're pretty resilient people, just another day at the office. Now at number 2, we have a story from 2014 where Reddit user Lumberjack found a creepy, hidden crawl space while poking around in his attic. Now, eventually this story had to be removed from the internet for its sensitive material, but the Reddit user's tale will send a shiver down your spine. As Lumberjack made his way through the crawl space, it led to an ominous looking metal door. It was locked, of course, they always are. After eventually breaking through the lock, he found a room where the walls, floor and ceiling were completely covered in soundproofing and plastic tarp, as well as a strange raised area the size of a single bed and a black sentry safe just lying on the floor. And again, on the floor was a large leather briefcase, and inside was an old wooden box, some silver ingots, various letters and paper money from several different countries across the globe. The weirdest part though were the tapes that Lumberjack had found inside the safe. One of them had the words "no, no, no, no" written on it, and there was a sheet of lined paper with "save yourself" written in black ink. Well, that's enough of that. And finally, the number one scary room that should have stayed a secret is technically a house. Well, a mansion to be specific, a murder mansion. In 1886, the infamous Henry Howard Holmes decided to build a house full of so many hidden rooms, secret passages and dead ends that it perplexed local police for years after its discovery. During the construction of the murder mansion, Holmes switched building contractors so frequently so that no one involved could realize the gruesome end of all its strange parts. It was like a weird Rubik's Cube. The building was completed in 1892, and after his arrest in 1894, police discovered that Holmes had created a dungeon of pure nightmare fuel. Hinged walls, half partitions, there were rooms with 5 doors and others with no doors. There were airless chambers hidden under the floorboards and rooms that just sealed off and filled with gas. It is believed that the actual count of Holmes's victims stretched into the 200s, and in 1896, he was hanged to death. Now, thankfully, shortly after his execution, an explosion ripped through the murder mansion and it burned to the ground. So, we can all rest easy.
In at 5, World War II Room. Uploaded to Reddit by Norwegian user MYNDIG, they posted some incredibly disturbing pictures of a hidden room they found in the attic of their shared accommodation, and it is believed to be a room that has been undisturbed since World War II. The user said that their house lord told them their home had a hidden room but was very vague about where it was, so instead of studying for exams, the user decided to embark on an epic scavenger hunt to find the hidden room, because, of course, wouldn't you? He ended up finding it by accident by kicking in the attic wall. Inside was a dark secret room with a sign that translated to, "If you have a bad stomach, then you don't have access." Not only that, but there was also a lamp alarm, which was typically used to warn anyone nearby when someone enters. There was also a map of West Europe and the piece de resistance. Creepy. Who do you think was hiding out in this secret room? In at 4, Dunnerden. Dunnerden is the Aspen home of Broadband Software co-founder Doug Carlston. Outside it looks like an ordinary log cabin, however inside it has 1,700 feet of secret passageways, nearly 6 football fields worth. Carlston is responsible for the puzzle adventure game Myst, and his house reflects his personality with its innocuous filing cabinets that conceal doors and dresser drawers that reveal passageways to other rooms. At the bottom of his house is a labyrinth of creepy catacombs full of treasure. Now, what makes this secret fortress scary is that Dunnerden has something called the Room of Doom, where guests are urged to stand on a rocky ledge behind a waterfall. There are only 2 ways out of the Room of Doom: swim through the chute or jump through the waterfall and hope you land in the pool. In at 3, Crawlspace, uploaded by 2Byte Brownie. A series of photos documents the time he was screwing around with his brother in their parents' bedroom and fell hard into a built-in bookshelf. It opened, revealing a hidden room with a spiral staircase, which can only mean one thing: torture chamber. The brothers descended the steps, which led down to a strange crawl space full of Halloween candy and even a fresh-looking banana peel. The user stated, I quote, "Someone was living in our walls. That is my Halloween candy. Someone came into my room, took from my bag, and brought it back in here. 30 seconds after taking a picture, we realized what it meant and got the f*** out of there." Those weren't the only things that the boys found down there either. Other items included an elephant carving, a skeleton key, and some creepy dolls. Police determined, following forensic science and observing the lack of supplies, that the squatter was living there temporarily. There were no other entrances to the secret passage, meaning the person could have only gained access through the parents' bedroom. Police never found the person, resulting in the parents boarding up the room as precaution. I would have moved, but that's just me. Coming in at 2, Squatter. The story has become quite infamous over the years and is probably the most popular case of folks discovering a hidden room in their home. This incident happened to a group of Ohio State University students who became spooked by strange noises at night, as well as cupboard doors that seemingly opened on their own. Of course, they believed their home was haunted, however, they were very wrong. Their ghost was actually a man living in a secret room in their basement. They had originally assumed the secret room was the maintenance cupboard, but after forcing the door open, they discovered a small room with a double bed, framed photographs, and textbooks. Creepy. The group quickly changed the locks and left a note in the door informing the stranger that they had to leave the house. Turns out the squatter was named Jeremy and he used the basement sink to wash his clothes, but honoured the hermit code by not stealing from the group. According to him, he gained access to the house via his cousin, who was the previous tenant. even weirder. And finally, coming in at number 1, the Murder Castle. In Chicago, 1889, Herman W. Mudgett built a hotel in anticipation for the tourist boom that would be brought on by the upcoming 1893 World's Fair. However, Herman didn't build a conventional hotel. Oh no. He instead built a mystery funhouse with trapdoors, hidden stairways, and surprise chutes that led down to the basement. It turned out that Herman W. Mudgett was the real name of H.H. Holmes, America's first famous serial killer who used the upper floors of the hotel to torture and kill hundreds of people. Eventually he was found out and was forced to confess to his gruesome crimes, following which time he was executed. Police raided the hotel, which became known as the Murder Castle, and they discovered secret windowless rooms, false floors with no escape, soundproof bedrooms, and even a gas chamber. Shortly after the capture of Holmes, the Murder Castle burned down and a post office was built on the site in 1938. Still stands today, with most people believing it to be certainly haunted. As do I. That's creepy. Coming in at 5, secret crawl space. Imgur user 2Byte Brownie was subject to an awful discovery when he found a secret crawl space in his own home. One day he was playing around with his brother in their parents' bedroom and fell hard against a built-in bookshelf. To their surprise, it opened, revealing a hidden room with a scary spiral staircase that looked as though it belonged in a movie. The brothers then descended the stairs, which led them to a strange crawl space full of Halloween candy and a fresh-looking banana peel. I quote, "Someone was living in our walls. That is my Halloween candy. Someone came into my room, took from my bed, and brought it back in here." 30 seconds after taking a picture, we realized what it meant and got the out of there. Now, the other items that were found included an elephant carving, a skeleton key, and some creepy looking dolls. Using forensic science and observing the lack of supplies, the police determined the squatter was only living there temporarily. I mean, thank God, but that doesn't make the situation that much better. There were no other entrances to the secret room, meaning the person could only gain access to it via the parents' bedroom. That is absolutely horrifying. To make matters worse, police never found the person, so the parents boarded up the room as a precaution. I mean, I would have moved, but you do you. Coming in at 4, secret squatter. A few years back at Ohio State University, a few students were left frightened when they discovered the source of some strange noises coming from a door in their home. At night, cupboards would open and close on their own, and the food was constantly going missing. So, like any sane person, they chalked it up to a ghost and believed the accommodation they were staying in was haunted. However, they were wrong when they discovered their ghostly roommate was actually a man living in a secret room in their basement. When they moved in, they assumed the secret room was a maintenance cupboard, but after forcing the door open, they discovered a small room with a double bed, framed photographs, and even textbooks. After discovering that someone had been living under their roof free of charge, the students quickly changed the locks and left a note on the door, advising the stranger that he wasn't free to stay in their home. I mean, it is a little weird, isn't it? Turns out the squatter's name was Jeremy. Jeremy was using the basement sink to wash his clothes and apparently gained access to the house via his cousin, who was a previous resident, and then just chose not to leave. Thankfully, the students had no hard feelings towards Jeremy. I quote, "I feel bad for him. It's just he wasn't supposed to be living there. It's funny now, but it potentially could have been extremely dangerous given some random guy had a key to our house. Yes, it's 100% weird. I would be less kind if I found out someone was living in my apartment with me. Horrible." Coming in at 3, secret castle. Now, I'm stretching the definition of rooms here and bringing you not just one secret room, but an entire secret castle. Yeah, it's your lucky day. Robert Fiddler dreamt of building a Tudor-style castle with a rampart, cannon, turrets, and an entertainment center for his family, which I assume includes jousting? I don't know. According to Robert, it was his high right as an Englishman to build the secret castle. However, the land was unfortunately zoned for industrial purposes, and Robert couldn't attain the necessary permissions. So, what did he do? He decided to build it anyway and somehow hid the entire construction process behind the 40 feet high haystack surrounding the property. The construction was completed in just 2 years, and he and his family lived there in secret for over 4 years, with no incidents from his neighbors or even the government. However, in time, Robert tried to apply for a certificate of lawfulness, reasoning that since the home had been there for 4 years without any complaints, it would be granted to him because of a statute of limitations loophole. This guy is sneaky. I'm not sure if I like Robert, but I sure do respect him. And for the first time after 4 years, he pulled down the haystacks to unveil his home. Word very quickly got out and the local council came over for scones and tea. Honestly, it doesn't get more British than that. However, that That would have been the dream, right? Scones and tea? That's not what happened though. The council came over, hated everything Robert had done, and in turn the secret castle got demolished. Sucks to be Robert. Don't build a secret castle, you fool. Coming in at 2, Dunnerden. Dunnerden is the Aspen home of Broadband Software co-founder Doug Carlston. Now, from the outside, Dunnerden looks pretty much like an ordinary log cabin. However, inside it has a staggering 1,700 feet of secret passageways, nearly 6 football fields worth. Now, for most gamers, they will know that Doug Carlston was responsible for the successful puzzle adventure game Myst. In the game, players are told that a special book has caused them to travel to Myst Island. Fun times. Now, Doug's home reflected his personality as a gaming giant, with its innocuous filing cabinets concealing doors and dresser drawers that serve as passageways to other rooms. To add to the craziness, the bottom of the home is a labyrinth of eerie catacombs full of treasure. Now, things get a little creepier here though. In Dunnerden, there is something called the Room of Doom, where guests are urged to stand on a rocky ledge behind a waterfall. There are just 2 ways out of the room: swim through a chute or jump through the waterfall, and you hope you land in the swimming pool below. Absolutely terrifying. And finally, coming in at number 1, the Murder Castle. Back in 1889, Herman W. Mudgett built a hotel in Chicago in anticipation for the huge tourist boom that would occur with the upcoming 1893 World's Fair. However, instead of a standard hotel, Mudgett built a fun house, but not in the general sense. This one had trapdoors, hidden stairways, and surprise chutes to the basement. It turned out that Mudgett was the real name of H.H. Holmes, America's first famous serial killer, who used the upper floors of his hotel in order to torture and kill hundreds of people in Chicago, most of whom were women and tourists. Eventually things became unstuck for the killer, and he was in turn forced to confess to his crimes. He was then executed. When police raided the murder castle, they discovered secret windowless rooms, false floors, rooms with no escape from the inside, and even soundproof bedrooms and gas chambers. Shortly after Holmes's capture, the murder castle was burned down and a post office was built on the site in 1938. Still stands today and is definitely haunted. You should check it out.
Starting off this countdown, we have Hotel Room 333. The Langham Hotel is said to be one of the most haunted hotels in London, and Room 333 is why it has this reputation. So the hotel was first built in 1865. There are over 500 rooms and suites, and also a number of ghosts as well. There are at least 5 ghosts that make their presence known on the regular, but several other ghosts haunt the hotel as well. The most active ghost is said to be that of a German prince. It's believed that he threw himself out of a window on the upper story room and he passed away. Well, guests have seen this ghost on a number of occasions. He is known to move through walls and close doors. If you feel a sudden drop in temperature, it's said that that's a sign he is near. Then you also have the ghost of a man with a gaping wound on his face. They don't know what happened to him, but they know that he's terrifying looking. And you have the ghost of a butler that has been seen wandering the corridors in ripped socks, and a ghost of a man in a pale blue suit with a powdered wig on. But let's get to the most haunted room, Room 333. People who have stayed in this room have encountered a number of terrifying ghosts. The first sighting was made by a BBC newscaster. He was staying in the room when he woke up to see a fluorescent ball of light floating above him. This ball slowly transformed into a human apparition. The apparition then hovered in his room. He was dressed in Victorian evening wear, but one of his legs was missing. He came towards the newscaster with his arms open and eyes wide before disappearing into thin air. Maybe the poor dude just wanted a hug, you know? He's coming out like, I don't know. Another ghost that haunts this room is the ghost of a doctor who took the life of his wife on their honeymoon. This guy often appears wearing a cloak and often has blank, staring eyes. And lastly, we have Emperor Napoleon III. Apparently he lived at the Langham Hotel during his last days in exile, and has also made an appearance in Room 333. In our 4th spot today, we have Lizzie Bourden. Lizzie Bourden is a well-known individual in American criminal history. If you don't know who she is, well hey, here's a quick little nursery rhyme that'll teach you all about her. Lizzie Bourden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. That's a sick nursery rhyme based on the real murder Lizzie Bourden committed. But it turns out she only struck her mom 19 times and her dad 10 times. I mean, it's still bad, but anyways, back in 1892, her parents were found dead. After investigating the scene, Lizzie was the only person who seemed guilty, although her case is pretty controversial. Some say she did it, Others say she didn't. Anyways, the Bourden murder house is now a bed and breakfast museum, in case you want to stay in a real place where gruesome murders happened. And turns out that Lizzie, as well as others, haunt the grounds. Late at night, apparently she could be heard laughing at the top of the stairs. Others have seen doors open and close on their own. Or they'll just be chilling out, minding their own business, when all of a sudden they get a whiff of Lizzie's perfume. On top of that, others have heard the traumatized maid screaming for help. And others have seen her parents walking the grounds. In our third spot, we have the Banff Springs Hotel. There's one room in this hotel that was so scary and plagued with paranormal activity that they no longer let anyone in that room, and it has since been boarded up. So Banff Springs Hotel is considered a luxury mountain resort located in Canada. Seems kind of odd that it's terribly haunted, but it is. So according to a number of legends, the hotel is haunted by its tragic past. Decades ago, a family was killed in room 873. In 1928, a married couple and their daughter checked into the hotel, but they never checked out. During one night, the father ended up taking the lives of his wife and daughter before taking his own life. No one knows why he did such a horrific deed. Soon after, the room was refurbished and booked out to visitors. But weird things started happening in that room. Guests would wake up in the middle of the night to sounds of screaming. When they would flip on the lights, they would see bloody handprints on the mirror inside their room. Obviously, they would freak the hell out and then run to the front desk. But when the staff went to the room to investigate, the prints would be gone. It was happening so frequently that they decided to board up the room. In fact, if you go to the hotel today, there are rooms ending in 73 on each floor except the 8th floor. In the spot that the room should be, you can tell that a room was once there but has since been boarded up. There are lights placed above each doorway, and there is one above where this missing door would have been. Not only that, but the baseboard is cut where the door would have been. And if you knock along the walls, it sounds like it's made of thick plaster. But if you knock on the spot where room 873 should be, it sounds hollow. So it's believed that there is definitely a room 873 at the Banff Springs Hotel, and they boarded it up because it's literally haunted by the family that died in there. It's really freaky. I'm good with keeping that room sealed up forever, okay? In our second spot, we have the Axe Murder House, aka another place that you'll never catch me at, and another place plagued with paranormal activity and dark history. So on June 10th, 1912, husband and wife Josiah and Sarah Moore and their 3 sons and daughter were found bludgeoned to death inside of their home. The killer was never caught. After investigating the bodies and crime scene, it was concluded that the dark deed was done at around 12:45 midnight. They found 2 cigarettes in the attic, suggesting that the killer or killers were waiting in the attic until the family went to bed. They started in the master bedroom with the parents, struck them with an axe, and then moved on. Then they returned back to the master bedroom at the end to hit the 2 with more blows. And now it's said that this house and the rooms in it are extremely haunted. People that have gone on tours of the house have claimed to hear children's voices and screams. Others have seen objects move and fly on their own. But in 2014, something very scary and unexplainable happened. It happened to paranormal investigator Robert Stephen Larson Jr. He was touring the house. While staying at the house, he stabbed himself in the chest. The freakiest part? He got stabbed at 12:45 a.m. the same time the murders of the Moore family occurred. So yeah, maybe don't go exploring the rooms there unless you want something like that to happen to you. And in our number 1 spot today, we have room B340. Room B340 is a part of the Queen Mary, which is said to be one of the most haunted hotels in America. There are a number of ghosts that haunt this hotel, from Jackie, the little girl who haunts the first-class pool, to a man named John Petter who was crushed by a watertight door, to 2nd Senior Officer William Eric Stark who accidentally drank cleaning fluid instead of gin, and one of the cooks who was baked alive by his own staff during World War II. So yeah, a lot of dark things have happened on this ship turned hotel. Now there is one room on this ship that you never, and I mean never, want to go to, and that is room B340. It's the site of a huge tragedy. So back in the 60s, the ship was used for transatlantic cruises. Well, while on this cruise, a man went crazy and took the lives of 2 women in this room. When his crimes were discovered, he was locked in the room until they could dock the ship and deal with him. The door was locked from the outside and a guard was positioned outside the room so the killer couldn't escape. At one point, the guard heard the man pounding on the door saying that someone was in the room with him and and was trying to kill him. Obviously the guard was like, I ain't no idiot, and never opened the door. He thought that this was the guy trying to get the guard to open the door so that he could escape. Here's where it gets weird, okay? Shortly after, the guard heard nothing coming from the room, so he thought, okay, the man finally settled down and went to bed. The next day, the ship arrived in New York and the NYPD boarded the ship to arrest the man. But when he opened the door, they found the man's body parts scattered across the room. His limbs had been ripped off and they were all over the place. There was no way he could have done this to himself. So what happened to him in there? Was there actually someone in that room with him? If so, how did they get in? And who is this person? It's just all so eerie, and that's why you should never board the ship, let alone go to this room. But if you want to, its ship welcomes paranormal investigators or anyone brave enough to spend the night there. A number of guests have reported eerie things happening to them in the middle of the night. In 1966, a woman was staying in the room and woke up to the covers on the bed being pulled off of her. When she opened her eyes, she saw a man standing at the end of her bed. She screamed and ran out of her room, but when she did, the man vanished into thin air. Other guests have complained about the lights in the room flickering on and off, or have heard sounds of someone knocking on the door in the middle of the night. Even the hotel maids have complained about the room, saying sometimes they have entered the room to find the water in the bathroom running, when no one was in the room for days. So with all that being said, would you dare to spend the night there?